My name is Amos, and this is an introduction to the Parkinson's disease. This is for Period 6, Mr. Mousek's Cell Communication Project. First of all, the Parkinson's disease is a progressive brain disorder that damages dopamine-producing neurons. This leads to significant movement symptoms such as tremors and stiffness, as well as other symptoms including sleep issues or depression. There is no cure for the Parkinson's disease. Signal mechanism. The primary ligand involved in Parkinson's disease is dopamine, which is released by dopaminergic neurons within the substantia nigra. These dopamines bind to dopamine receptors to regulate motor control, which is how your body facilitates its movement. The type of receptor. The main receptors are dopamine receptors, which are G protein coupled receptors. D1-like receptors bind to GS proteins to activate the adenylyl cyclase. D2-like receptors bind to GI proteins and inhibits adenylyl cyclase. They regulate the neuron communication between basal ganglia circuits. The D1 receptor activation increases NMDA response and promotes neuronal death. Drug addiction results in the upregulation of D1 and downregulation of D2. The PD, AKT, and ERK1/2 activates prevent dopamine neuronal death. The PD aggregates of alpha-synuclein hyperactivate MAPK signaling promoting inflammation and consequently neuronal death. Specifics of cellular response. Normal dopamine signaling results in balanced activation of the basal ganglia circuits, which initiates movement. The dopamine receptors influence protein homeostasis and maintains mitochondrial health. When dopaminergic signaling is interrupted, the neurons lose all control, and this leads to excessive inhibition on the basal ganglia circuits. This will slow the movements and cause rigidity. Correct mechanism. The dopaminergic neurons in the substantia nigra synthesizes the dopamines and releases it to bind with D1 or D2 type receptors on striatal neurons. They regulate cAMP levels, a second messenger that relays signals outside the neuron and control motor circuits. Mitochondria activity is very important because it provides the energy needed to sustain the dopaminergic neuron activity and the transmission of signals. Faulty mechanism. Parkinson's disease is mainly caused by the degeneration of the dopaminergic neurons, which results in dopamine deficiency, and this results in signal. The accumulation of alpha-synuclein. The accumulation of alpha-synuclein, a small protein that regulates vesicles and release of dopamine. This will cause it to become misfolded. They can turn into something called Lewy bodies, and this will trigger the mitochondrial stress. Putting stress on the mitochondria is bad, especially when it can result in energy deficiency. Lewy bodies block protein transport into the mitochondria and cuts off every energy input. Misfolded alpha-synuclein will reduce vesicle recycling, and this will impair dopamine release, ultimately affecting body movement and motor circuit communication. These are the references that I used in my presentation with all the information sourced. This is the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening.